Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizon and watched the strange planet grow larger on the main screen. The world looked dead from space with its gray surface and thin atmosphere, but the sensors showed something interesting hidden beneath the dust and rocks. His crew had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place, and Jake hoped they would find something worth the long journey. Dr. Lisa Carter sat at her science station running scans of the planet. Surface, she was the best xenobiologist in the human fleet, and Jake trusted her judgment completely. Lisa had discovered signs of ancient structures buried deep under the planetary crust, and she believed they might find evidence of alien life that died out long ago. The readings were unlike anything they had seen before and showed patterns that could only come from intelligent design. Drive Ben Cooper worked beside Lisa, reviewing the historical data they had collected about this sector of space. Ben was a historian who specialized in ancient civilizations, and he had spent years studying the records of dead worlds scattered throughout the galaxy. He believed this planet might hold clues about what happened to the many species that had vanished without explanation over the past several thousand years. Commander Alex Stone checked the tactical systems and monitored space around their ship. Alex was responsible for keeping the crew safe, and he always stayed alert for any signs of danger. The mission had been approved by Earth Command, but they were far from any help. If something went wrong, the nearest human outpost was weeks away, at maximum speed, and they would have to handle any problems on their own. Jake gave the order to enter orbit and begin detailed scans of the planet's surface. The sensors revealed massive structures buried under kilometers of sediment and dust. The buildings were enormous and showed a level of technology that seemed far beyond what most known species possessed. Lisa reported that the structures appeared to be intact despite their great age and might still contain useful information about their builders. The away team prepared for the surface mission while Jake reviewed the safety protocols. Lisa would lead the science team, with Ben providing historical analysis and Alex commanding the security detail. They would take a small shuttle down to the planet and attempt to gain access to the buried structures. Jake wanted to go with them, but he needed to stay with the ship in case they required emergency evacuation. The shuttle landed near the largest structure, which the sensors indicated might be some kind of central facility or command center. The team used portable drilling equipment to cut through the layers of accumulated debris and create an entrance to the buried complex. The atmosphere inside was still breathable, which suggested the builders had used advanced environmental systems that continued to function. After all these centuries, Lisa led the team through corridors filled with strange symbols and alien technology. The walls were covered with what appeared to be writing in an unknown language, but Ben recognized some patterns that matched similar markings found on other dead worlds. He began recording everything they saw while Lisa collected samples of the materials and technology they encountered. The team discovered a vast chamber filled with crystalline structures that glowed with their own internal light. Alex kept his weapon ready while the scientists approached the strange formations. Lisa's scanner detected that the crystals were storing massive amounts of information in a format that might be compatible with human computer systems. Ben found what appeared to be a control interface and began attempting to access the stored data. The system responded to his touch and began displaying images and text in the same unknown language they had seen throughout the complex. Lisa worked to translate the information while Ben recorded everything the system showed them. The data revealed that this planet had once been home to a species called the Architects, who had built a vast civilization spanning multiple star systems. The records showed that the Architects had developed incredible technology, including faster-than-light travel and advanced artificial intelligence. They had lived in peace for thousands of years and made contact with many other species throughout the galaxy. But something had gone wrong, and the records showed increasing concern about an organization called the Council. The Architects had discovered that the Council was not what it claimed to be, and had tried to warn other species about the deception. The final entries in the database described desperate preparations for war and attempts to hide their technology from Council forces. Lisa felt a chill as she realized the implications of what they had found. The council mentioned in the ancient records was the same Galactic Council that currently governed known space and maintained relations between different species. According to human history, the council had formed naturally to bring peace and order to the galaxy after centuries of conflict between various civilizations. But the architect records told a different story and suggested that the council had been eliminating advanced species for thousands of years. Ben found references to dozens of other civilizations that had disappeared shortly after making contact with the council. The pattern was always the same, with species vanishing just as they reached the peak of their technological development. Alex noticed movement on his sensors and warned the team that they might not be alone in the complex. The security systems were still active and appeared to be responding to their presence. Jake received their transmission from orbit and prepared the ship for emergency departure, while monitoring space around the planet for any signs of council vessels. The team gathered as much data as possible before retreating to their shuttle. Lisa carried samples of the crystal storage devices while Ben downloaded everything he could access from the main database. Alex provided cover as they moved through the corridors toward the exit while automated systems began activating throughout the complex. They reached the surface and launched their shuttle just as the buried structures began to glow with renewed energy. Jake brought the New Horizon to full alert and prepared to jump to hyperspace if necessary. The team reported their discoveries during the flight back to the ship, and Jake realized they had found something that could change everything humanity believed about the galaxy. The question now was what to do with this information and whether anyone would believe what they had discovered in the ruins of a dead civilization. Jake Morrison stared at the star charts displayed on the main screen while his crew analyzed the data from the architect ruins. The coordinates they had found pointed to 17 different star systems scattered across this region of space. Each location marked a world that had once supported an advanced civilization. According to the ancient records, Lisa Carter worked day and night translating more of the crystalline data storage devices, while Ben Cooper cross-referenced the information with known galactic history. The New Horizon set course for the nearest system on the list, and Jake hoped they would find more evidence to support what the architect records claimed. He had not yet reported their discovery to Earth Command because he knew the information would be classified and buried in bureaucratic procedures. The council maintained diplomatic relations with humanity, and any suggestion of their involvement in genocide would create massive political problems. Alex Stone monitored communications channels for any signs that council forces might be tracking their movements. The tactical officer had noticed unusual activity in the sector, with several ships appearing on long-range sensors before disappearing again. He suspected they were being watched, but could not prove it. Without getting closer to investigate, the first system they visited contained a dead world, covered in the twisted remains of what had once been great cities. Lisa's scans revealed that the destruction was not natural and showed signs of directed energy weapons being used against the surface. Ben found evidence that matched the architect records describing a species called the Builders, who had developed advanced construction technology before vanishing 3,000 years ago. They discovered underground bunkers where the Builders had tried to hide from their attackers. The facilities contained more crystalline storage devices, and Ben was able to access some of the final records. The data showed the same pattern, with the council offering help and protection before systematically destroying the civilization from within. Lisa made a disturbing discovery when she analyzed the weapon signatures found on the planet's surface. The energy patterns matched technology currently used by council security forces. The weapons that destroyed the Builders were the same type carried by the ships that protected council space stations and diplomatic facilities. The second world they visited had been completely sterilized, with no trace of life remaining anywhere on the surface. Alex's sensors detected residual radiation that suggested the use of antimatter weapons deployed from orbit. The planet had been home to an aquatic species called the Deep Ones, who had developed underwater cities and advanced biotechnology. Ben found a few intact structures on the ocean floor that contained fragments of data about the final days. The Deep Ones had discovered something about the Council's true nature. and tried to share the information with other species. Their transmission logs showed desperate attempts to contact nearby civilizations before their world was destroyed. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan received reports that made her increasingly concerned about human research projects. 3 separate teams working on advanced physics had gone missing in the past month. The official reports claimed they had suffered accidents during dangerous experiments, but Kate's intelligence sources suggested something more sinister. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster worked in the intelligence division and had been tracking unusual council interest in human scientific progress. The alien representatives had been asking detailed questions about quantum mechanics research and dimensional fold technology. Ryan discovered that similar inquiries had been made to other species just before they experienced major disasters or conflicts. The Council had always been helpful to humanity, providing trade agreements and defensive pacts that allowed human expansion into space. But Ryan's analysis showed that the Council consistently steered human research away from certain areas while encouraging development in others. The pattern matched what the New Horizon crew was finding in the ruins of extinct civilizations. Jake's team continued their investigation, visiting world after world that showed the same signs of systematic destruction. Each planet had been home to a species that reached advanced technological development before being eliminated by forces using Council weapons and tactics. The evidence was overwhelming, but Jake knew that proving Council involvement would be nearly impossible. Drive Cooper made a breakthrough when he found records of a species called the Watchers who had survived long enough to document the Council's methods. The Watchers had discovered that Council representatives were not actually members of the species they claimed to represent. The data suggested that the entire Council leadership consisted of artificial beings designed to mimic different alien races. Lisa's analysis of biological samples from multiple worlds supported Cooper's findings. She found genetic markers that indicated several supposedly different alien species were actually related in ways that made no evolutionary sense. The DNA evidence suggested that many Council member species had been artificially created or modified to serve a specific purpose. Alex detected ships following them as they moved between star systems. The vessels used advanced stealth technology, but their movements followed predictable patterns that suggested coordination with a central command authority. He recommended that they begin using random jump coordinates and evasive maneuvers to avoid being cornered by Council forces. The team discovered a hidden facility on the 7th world they investigated. The structure was buried deep underground and protected by energy shields that had remained active for thousands of years. Lisa's scans indicated that the facility contained massive computer systems and what appeared to be suspended animation chambers. Ben successfully accessed the facility's database and found records going back tens of thousands of years. The data revealed that the Council's systematic elimination of advanced species was part of a larger plan to control the development of galactic civilization. Each time a species approached certain technological thresholds, they were marked for destruction to prevent them from becoming a threat to the Council's masters. The most disturbing discovery was a list of species currently under observation. Humanity was listed as a priority target due to recent advances in consciousness research and dimensional manipulation technology. The records indicated that human elimination protocols had already been approved, and deployment was scheduled within the next standard year. Jake realized that Earth was running out of time, and his crew might be the only humans who knew the truth about the Council's intentions. He made the decision to continue gathering evidence, while sending encrypted messages to Admiral Sullivan warning her about the threat. The intelligence would have to be transmitted using civilian channels to avoid Council monitoring of military communications. Ryan Foster on Earth began investigating the missing research teams and discovered that all of them had been working on projects that appeared on the Council's elimination threshold list. The quantum consciousness research being conducted by Dr. Emma Davis had apparently crossed a line that triggered the Council's response protocol. Admiral Sullivan started quietly preparing human defenses while maintaining normal diplomatic relations with the Council. She could not openly accuse the alien representatives without proof. but she could begin moving fleet assets into defensive positions around key human worlds. The evidence from Jake's team would be crucial for convincing Earth's political leaders that the threat was real. The New Horizon crew prepared to investigate the most important location on their list. The coordinates led to a heavily defended system at the edge of Council space, where the architect records indicated they might find the source of the conspiracy. Jake knew they would be walking into extreme danger, but they needed to discover who was really controlling the Council and what their ultimate goals might be. The New Horizon approached the hidden system at the edge of Council space. Using maximum stealth protocols, Jake Morrison ordered all non-essential systems powered down to reduce their energy signature, while Alex Stone monitored the passive sensors for any signs of patrol vessels. The coordinates from the Architect database led to a system that officially did not exist. According to all galactic navigation charts, Lisa Carter detected massive artificial structures orbiting the system's primary star. The installations were larger than any space stations humanity had ever encountered and showed energy readings that suggested incredible technological capabilities. Ben Cooper compared the designs to architectural patterns found in the ruins they had investigated and confirmed that the structures matched architect building techniques. The team discovered that the installations were heavily shielded and defended by automated weapon platforms that would destroy any unauthorized vessel attempting to approach. Jake realized they would need to find another way to gather intelligence about what was happening inside the mysterious complex. Alex suggested using the shuttle to approach from the system's outer asteroid belt where they might avoid detection by the defensive systems. The small craft could hide among the space rocks and use passive sensors to observe the installations without triggering an alarm response. Lisa and Ben volunteered for the reconnaissance mission, while Alex provided tactical support from the shuttle's weapon systems. Jake remained with the New Horizon ready to provide emergency evacuation if the mission went wrong. The shuttle launched using a trajectory that would hide its approach behind several large asteroids. The team reached an observation position that gave them a clear view of the central facility. Lisa's detailed scans revealed thousands of individual chambers within the structure, each containing what appeared to be a living being in some form of suspended animation. The life signs were from dozens of different species, including several that matched the extinct civilizations they had studied. Ben accessed the facility's outer computer networks. Using techniques learned from the Architect database, he discovered that the installation was a massive storage and processing center where the consciousness of captured beings were held and manipulated. The facility contained the preserved minds of billions of individuals from hundreds of different species. The most shocking discovery was that these stored consciousnesses were being used to power artificial intelligence systems that mimicked the original species. Lisa realized that the Council representatives they had always believed were real alien beings were actually sophisticated computer programs animated by the minds of their victims. Alex detected movement within the facility as automated systems began activating in response to their scanning activities. The defensive platforms started moving toward their position, and he recommended immediate withdrawal before they were discovered. The shuttle retreated deeper into the asteroid field while the team processed what they had learned. Ben found evidence that the facility was controlled by beings from another dimension, who existed as pure energy rather than physical matter. These entities fed on the intellectual and spiritual development of younger species. By harvesting their most advanced individuals, the Council system was designed to identify civilizations approaching technological maturity and guide them toward the harvesting process. Lisa discovered that the energy beings required specific conditions to maintain their existence in normal space. They used the harvested consciousness to anchor themselves to physical reality while drawing sustenance from the creative and analytical capabilities of their victims. The process slowly consumed the stored minds until nothing remained but empty energy patterns. The team learned that humanity had been selected for harvesting because human consciousness showed unique properties that made it especially valuable. To the energy beings, human creativity and stubborn refusal to accept limitations provided a type of mental energy that the entities found particularly nourishing. Jake received their report while monitoring Council communication channels. He discovered increased activity throughout Council space as fleets began moving toward human territory. Admiral Sullivan's warnings had apparently been detected, and the Council was accelerating their timeline for the human elimination operation. On Earth, Ryan Foster uncovered evidence that Council representatives were not who they claimed to be. His investigation of diplomatic records showed inconsistencies in behavior patterns, and knowledge that suggested the alien ambassadors were being controlled by outside influences. Several Council members had demonstrated abilities and information that did not match their supposed species' capabilities. Admiral Sullivan began emergency preparations for defending human space. While trying to avoid triggering a premature Council response, she moved fleet assets into position around key systems, while maintaining the appearance of routine training exercises. Kate knew that humanity would need every advantage possible. When the Council revealed their true intentions, the New Horizon crew prepared to infiltrate the central facility to gather more detailed intelligence about the energy beings and their harvesting process. Lisa developed a plan to disable the defensive systems, using techniques derived from architect technology. While Ben worked on accessing the main computer networks, Alex modified the shuttle's weapons to use frequency patterns that the architect records indicated might be effective against the energy being's technology. The ancient data suggested that certain quantum resonance patterns could disrupt the dimensional anchors that allowed the entities to exist in normal space. The infiltration mission began with the shuttle approaching the facility using a captured Council identification code that Ben had extracted from the computer networks. The defensive systems allowed them to pass, but Alex detected that their movements were being monitored and recorded. The team reached a docking port on the facility's outer ring and discovered that the internal atmosphere was suitable for human survival. Lisa led them through corridors filled with strange machinery while Ben accessed computer terminals to map the installation's layout. Alex provided security coverage while monitoring for hostile responses from the facility's automated systems. They discovered chambers filled with the physical bodies of captured beings from dozens of species. The individuals were kept alive in suspended animation while their consciousness was extracted and stored in crystalline matrices. Lisa found humans among the prisoners, including members of the missing research teams from Earth. Ben accessed the main database and discovered the full scope of the harvesting operation. The energy beings had been systematically eliminating advanced civilizations for millions of years, while using their victims' minds to power an artificial galactic government. The Council was just the latest version of a control system that had been refined and improved over countless generations. The team learned that the energy beings were preparing to harvest all remaining sapient life in the galaxy. The current civilizations had reached a level of development that would provide enough mental energy to sustain the entities indefinitely. Humanity's unique consciousness patterns were the final component needed to complete their ultimate feeding process. Lisa discovered a way to reverse the consciousness extraction process and potentially free the imprisoned minds. The procedure would require precise timing and coordination, but could restore the victims to their original bodies. Ben found that releasing the stored consciousness would also disrupt the artificial intelligence stems that controlled the Council. Representatives. Alex detected approaching security forces as the facility's automated systems finally identified them as intruders. The team gathered as much data as possible while preparing for emergency evacuation. Jake maneuvered the New Horizon closer to provide support while monitoring Council fleet movements throughout the sector. The mission ended with the team barely escaping as the facility went into full alert status. They had gathered crucial intelligence about the enemy's true nature and capabilities, but their infiltration had been detected. Jake knew that the Council would now accelerate their plans, and humanity would have very little time to prepare for the coming conflict. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the emergency session room, facing the most powerful leaders of humanity. The evidence from Jake Morrison's mission lay spread across the conference table. While politicians and military commanders argued about the implications, many refused to believe that their longtime alien allies could be artificial constructs controlled by interdimensional parasites. Senator Bill Hayes led the opposition, claiming that the data could be fabricated or misinterpreted. He argued that accusing the Council of genocide would destroy humanity's position in galactic politics and leave Earth isolated against real threats. Several other officials supported his position, stating that they needed more proof before taking action against established allies. Kate presented the analysis prepared by Ryan Foster, showing the pattern of missing research teams and Council interest in human technological development. The intelligence reports documented specific instances where Council representatives had steered human science away from dangerous areas, while encouraging research that would make humanity easier to harvest. Drive. Ben Cooper joined the meeting by secure communication link from the New Horizon to present his translation of the Architect records. He explained how the ancient data matched current events and showed that humanity was following the same path as dozens of extinct civilizations. The historical evidence was overwhelming, but many officials remained skeptical. Senator Hayes questioned whether the New Horizon crew might have been influenced by alien technology or psychological manipulation. He suggested that the entire discovery could be part of an enemy plot to turn humanity against the Council. His arguments found support among representatives who feared the economic consequences of breaking ties with alien trading partners. Kate realized that political debate would continue until it was too late to mount an effective defense. She made the decision to begin military preparations without waiting for official authorization from the civilian government. The admiral quietly contacted trusted commanders throughout the fleet and began moving assets into defensive positions. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison led his ship toward coordinates provided by other species who had begun questioning Council activities. Lisa Carter had discovered that several alien civilizations contained individuals who suspected the truth but had been afraid to speak openly. The New Horizon crew hoped to find allies among these potential resistance members. Alex Stone detected Council ships shadowing their movements as they traveled between systems. The alien vessels made no hostile moves but maintained surveillance that suggested preparation for future action. Jake ordered evasive maneuvers while maintaining the appearance of routine exploration activities. The team made contact with a Zenthri scientist named Vokthelin, who had been researching historical anomalies in Council records. Vokthelin provided intelligence about massive fleet movements throughout Council space. As ships were redeployed toward human territory, the Zenthri confirmed that similar preparations had preceded the elimination of other species. Dr. Lisa Carter made a crucial breakthrough while analyzing the consciousness extraction process they had observed in the hidden facility. She discovered that human neural patterns generated specific quantum frequencies that could disrupt the energy being's dimensional anchors. The discovery explained why humanity had been marked as a priority target, despite being technologically primitive compared to previous victims. Ben Cooper worked with Vokthelin to decode more Architect records that described weapons specifically designed to fight the energy beings. The ancient civilization had begun developing countermeasures before their destruction and had hidden the technology in various locations throughout the galaxy. The weapons used quantum resonance patterns that could force the interdimensional entities back to their native realm. Ryan Foster uncovered evidence of Council infiltration into Earth's government and military command structure. Several high-ranking officials showed behavioral patterns that suggested they had been replaced by artificial constructs or were being controlled through advanced psychological manipulation. The infiltration explained why resistance to military preparation was so strong among certain political leaders. Kate Sullivan began implementing emergency protocols while maintaining official secrecy about the true threat. She activated reserve units and began recalling ships from distant assignments without revealing the specific reason for the mobilization. The admiral knew she was risking her career, but believed that saving humanity was worth any personal cost. Jake Morrison's team located one of the hidden Architect weapon caches described in the ancient records. The facility contained devices that could generate the quantum frequencies needed to disrupt energy being technology. Lisa analyzed the weapons and determined that human consciousness could amplify their effectiveness. Far beyond the architect's original design, the New Horizon crew tested the modified weapons against captured Council technology and achieved remarkable results. The devices completely disabled artificial intelligence systems and caused massive feedback in quantum processing networks. Alex Stone realized that the weapons could potentially free the consciousness stored in the harvesting facility. VOK Thelen provided crucial intelligence about Council fleet deployment and identified the location of the Central Command Facility, where the energy beings coordinated their operations. The installation was heavily defended, but represented the key target for any resistance effort. Destroying the command center could disrupt the entire control network and free billions of imprisoned minds. Kate Sullivan received reports of Council ships entering human space under the pretense of conducting joint training exercises. The alien vessels outnumbered human forces by a significant margin, but were not yet in position to begin a coordinated attack. She had perhaps weeks to complete defensive preparations before the Council revealed their true intentions. The Admiral made the difficult decision to contact Jake Morrison and request that his team attempt to sabotage the Central Command Facility. The mission would be extremely dangerous and success was far from guaranteed, but it represented humanity's best chance to strike at the enemy. Before they completed their preparations for harvest, Ben Cooper discovered references to other hidden architect facilities that might contain additional weapons or defensive technologies. The ancient civilization had apparently prepared for the possibility that future species might continue their fight against the energy beings. Jake ordered course changes to investigate these locations while maintaining communication with Admiral Sullivan. Lisa Carter worked with captured Council technology to develop countermeasures against the consciousness extraction process. She found that human mental patterns could create interference that protected other species from the harvesting procedure. The discovery suggested that humanity might be able to shield allied civilizations. During the coming conflict, Alex Stone identified weaknesses in Council ship designs that could be exploited using conventional human weapons. The alien vessels were optimized for fighting species that relied heavily on energy weapons and advanced shields. Human kinetic weapons and nuclear missiles might penetrate their defenses more effectively than expected. Ryan Foster established contact with resistance cells on various worlds where local populations had begun questioning Council authority. The intelligence networks provided crucial information about enemy movements and preparations, while offering potential coordination for simultaneous uprisings throughout Council space. The political situation on Earth deteriorated as Senator Hayes and his supporters attempted to override Admiral Sullivan's military preparations. They demanded that she stand down her forces and return to normal diplomatic relations with the Council. Kate refused the orders and prepared for possible arrest while continuing her defense preparations. Jake Morrison received new coordinates from Vok Thelen indicating the location of a major Council staging area where ships and troops were being assembled for the human elimination operation. The intelligence provided an opportunity to launch a preemptive strike that might disrupt enemy plans and buy time for Earth's defenses. The New Horizon crew prepared for their most dangerous mission, knowing that success or failure could determine the fate of humanity and every other sapient species in the galaxy. They had discovered the truth about their enemies and found weapons that might defeat them, but the odds remained heavily stacked against the forces of freedom. The Council attack began exactly as Jake Morrison had predicted based on the pattern used against previous civilizations. Artificial conflicts erupted between Earth and its outer colonies as Council agents activated sleeper programs in colonial governments. The manufactured civil war provided justification for Council peacekeeping forces to enter human space and begin systematic destruction of technological infrastructure. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched her carefully prepared defenses spring into action as Council ships revealed their true purpose. The alien vessels that had been conducting training exercises suddenly attacked human installations while broadcasting messages about restoring order to human space. Kate's forces were ready and began deploying the modified architect weapons that Jake's team had provided. The quantum frequency weapons proved devastatingly effective against Council technology. Human ships equipped with the ancient devices disabled entire enemy squadrons with single shots, while the artificial intelligence systems controlling Council forces suffered massive cascading failures. The energy beings' dimensional anchors became unstable when exposed to human consciousness patterns, amplified through architect technology. Jake Morrison led a desperate assault on the Central Command facility while Alliance fleets engaged Council forces throughout the galaxy. Lisa Carter had modified the quantum weapons to specifically target the consciousness storage systems where billions of enslaved minds powered the enemy's control network. Ben Cooper worked to free the imprisoned beings while Alex Stone coordinated the attack against heavily defended installations. The battle revealed the true scope of the energy beings' deception. As artificial Council representatives throughout the galaxy began malfunctioning and revealing their mechanical nature, species that had trusted the Council for thousands of years suddenly discovered that their governments had been controlled by interdimensional parasites feeding on galactic civilization. Drive Lisa Carter penetrated the central facility's consciousness storage chamber, where she found the preserved minds of countless individuals from hundreds of extinct species. The quantum matrix containing their thoughts and memories pulsed with unnatural energy as the harvested consciousness powered the vast network of artificial beings that maintained Council control. The liberation process began as Lisa activated the modified architect technology designed to reverse the consciousness extraction procedure. The quantum resonance patterns disrupted the energy beings' feeding process, while simultaneously freeing the imprisoned minds from their crystalline prisons. Billions of beings suddenly regained awareness after centuries or millennia of enslaved existence. Ben Cooper worked frantically to prevent the energy beings from activating a final protocol that would consume all remaining consciousness in the galaxy. The interdimensional entities had prepared a last resort option that would drain every sapient mind in known space to provide enough energy for permanent existence. In physical reality, the countdown to galactic extinction had already begun when the liberation process started. Admiral Sullivan coordinated resistance efforts across dozens of star systems as freed consciousness began possessing their original bodies or taking control of nearby artificial constructs. The architects and other extinct civilizations provided crucial intelligence about energy being weaknesses, while their advanced technology turned the tide of battle against Council forces. Alex Stone led ground forces through the command facility while fighting automated defense systems and energy being manifestations that appeared as living shadows capable of draining consciousness through direct contact. The modified quantum weapons could disrupt these manifestations, but required precise timing and coordination to prevent the entities from escaping back to their dimensional realm. Jake Morrison confronted the primary energy being entity in a psychic battlefield where human consciousness proved uniquely resistant to their control mechanisms. The creature's attempts to harvest Jake's mind met stubborn resistance as human creativity and refusal to accept predetermined limits disrupted its feeding process. The battle became a contest of will where humanity's greatest strength was their inability to give up. The liberation cascade spread throughout the galaxy as consciousness storage facilities on hundreds of worlds simultaneously released their prisoners. Species that had been extinct for millennia suddenly returned to physical existence, while their advanced technology and accumulated knowledge became available to the resistance. The balance of power shifted dramatically as the energy beings lost their primary source of sustenance. Lisa Carter discovered that the consciousness extraction process had been slowly consuming the energy beings themselves as they became addicted to the mental energy of their victims. The interdimensional entities were dying and had been planning the final harvest as a desperate attempt to survive by absorbing every sapient mind in the galaxy. Their weakness made them vulnerable to the quantum weapons that severed their connection to physical space. Council forces throughout known space began shutting down as their artificial intelligence systems failed without the harvested consciousness to power them. Billions of mechanical beings simply stopped functioning, while their ships drifted powerless in space. The vast network of control that had dominated galactic civilization for millions of years collapsed in a matter of hours. Ben Cooper worked with newly freed architect consciousness to locate and disable the final harvest protocol. Before it could activate, the ancient beings provided technical expertise while human intuition identified solutions that pure logic could not achieve. The combination of different types of consciousness created problem-solving capabilities that neither species possessed individually. Admiral Sullivan received reports of successful uprisings on worlds throughout Council space as local populations overthrew their artificial governments. The resistance cells that Ryan Foster had contacted provided coordination between different species, while Zenthri forces led by Vokthelin secured key strategic positions. The galaxy-wide revolution proceeded with remarkable efficiency, as freed consciousness provided perfect intelligence about enemy positions. Alex Stone completed the assault on the command facility, while Jake Morrison maintained his psychic battle against the primary energy being. The creature's desperation made it increasingly dangerous as it drew power from dimensional rifts that threatened to tear apart local space-time. Human forces had to balance destroying the entity with preventing catastrophic damage to the galaxy itself. The final confrontation occurred as the energy beings attempted to retreat back to their native dimension while maintaining enough connection to physical reality to eventually return. Lisa Carter realized that the dimensional anchors could be permanently severed if human consciousness was used to generate specific quantum interference patterns. The process would require volunteers to risk their minds in direct psychic combat. Jake Morrison volunteered for the dangerous procedure along with dozens of other humans who understood that failure would result in the eventual return of the energy beings. The combined human consciousness created quantum interference that forced the interdimensional entities back to their native realm, while sealing the dimensional rifts behind them. The victory came at great cost as several humans, including Jake, suffered permanent mental damage from direct exposure to energy being consciousness. Their sacrifice ensured that the interdimensional parasites could never again enter normal space to harvest sapient minds. The galaxy was finally free from millions of years of hidden control and manipulation. Admiral Sullivan coordinated the aftermath as surviving energy being technology was secured, and their remaining servants were captured or destroyed. The vast network of consciousness storage facilities required careful handling to ensure that freed beings could be properly restored to physical existence. The process would take years, but represented the return of hundreds of extinct civilizations to active life. Species throughout the galaxy began the complex task of rebuilding their societies without council control while learning to interact with each other as truly independent civilizations. Many chose to form voluntary alliances based on mutual benefit, rather than the artificial hierarchies imposed by their former controllers. Humanity emerged as a key species in the new galactic order, due to their crucial role in the liberation. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon watching the reconstruction efforts around the former Council Command facility. 6 months had passed since the liberation, and the galaxy was slowly adapting to freedom from interdimensional control. His mind still carried scars from the psychic battle, but he had recovered enough to resume command duties. The sacrifice had been worth the price of ensuring that the energy beings could never return. Dr. Lisa Carter worked in the medical bay treating humans who had suffered consciousness damage during the final battle. The quantum interference process that sealed the dimensional rifts had affected everyone who participated, but most were recovering with proper treatment. Lisa had developed techniques using modified architect healing technology to repair damaged neural pathways and restore normal brain function. Admiral Kate Sullivan coordinated the massive reconstruction effort from Earth, while managing diplomatic relations with dozens of newly freed civilizations. The political situation remained complex, as species struggled to establish independent governments after millennia of artificial control. Kate had been promoted to fleet commander and given authority over human participation in the new Galactic Alliance. Ben Cooper led archaeological teams investigating Council facilities throughout known space to document the full extent of the conspiracy and recover technology that could benefit galactic civilization. His work revealed the incredible scope of the energy beings' manipulation, as they had controlled the development of thousands of species over millions of years. The consciousness restoration process continued at sites throughout the galaxy as billions of enslaved minds were returned to physical existence. Many extinct civilizations chose to rebuild their societies on new worlds, while others integrated with existing communities. The architects established a research colony near Earth and began sharing their advanced technology with humanity. Dr. Lisa Carter made regular visits to the restoration facilities, where she helped coordinate the complex process of returning consciousness to physical bodies. Some beings had been imprisoned for so long that they required extensive rehabilitation to adapt to physical existence again. The work was challenging, but rewarding as entire civilizations returned to active life. Vokthelin became the first elected leader of a reformed Zenthri government that rejected the hierarchical system imposed by the Council. The Zenthri scientist worked closely with human researchers to develop new technologies based on principles of cooperation rather than domination. Their innovations promised to revolutionize space travel and communication throughout the galaxy. Jake Morrison received reports from exploration teams investigating previously unknown regions of space that had been declared off-limits during Council rule. They discovered worlds containing the ruins of civilizations so ancient that even the architect records did not mention them. The galaxy's true history was far more complex than anyone had imagined. During the years of artificial control, Ryan Foster established a new intelligence service dedicated to preventing the rise of similar control systems in the future. His teams monitored dimensional research throughout the galaxy to ensure that no one accidentally opened doorways that might allow the energy beings or similar entities to return. The work required constant vigilance, but was essential for maintaining galactic freedom. Alex Stone commanded the security forces protecting consciousness restoration sites from the few remaining energy being servants who had avoided capture. These artificial constructs continued to carry out their programming, even after their master's defeat, and posed ongoing threats to the liberation process. Human forces had become specialists in hunting down these dangerous remnants. The New Horizon crew embarked on a new mission exploring the galaxy's outer rim, where they hoped to contact civilizations that had remained hidden during the Council era. Lisa's analysis suggested that some species might have escaped the energy beings' notice by avoiding technological development or hiding in regions considered worthless by their controllers. Admiral Sullivan worked with leaders from across the galaxy to establish the new Galactic Federation based on principles of voluntary cooperation and mutual respect. The organization explicitly rejected the hierarchical control systems used by the Council and guaranteed the independence of member species. Humanity played a key role in the Federation's formation due to their proven resistance to mental domination. Ben Cooper discovered references to other dimensional realms where similar energy being entities might exist. The architect records suggested that the universe contained multiple layers of reality, where consciousness could take different forms. His research focused on developing defenses against potential threats from these unknown dimensions while avoiding the mistakes that had led to the original invasion. Dr. Lisa Carter pioneered new medical techniques combining human neural science with architect healing technology to treat consciousness-related injuries. Her methods proved effective for species throughout the galaxy and established humanity as leaders in the field of mental restoration. The techniques also provided insights into the nature of consciousness itself. Jake Morrison led diplomatic missions to distant civilizations that were slowly emerging from isolation. After learning about the Council's defeat, many species had hidden themselves for thousands of years rather than risk contact with what they suspected were hostile forces. The exploration efforts revealed the incredible diversity of life that had survived. By avoiding the energy being's attention, the consciousness storage facilities were gradually converted into research centers where freed beings could study their experiences and develop methods to prevent similar enslavement in the future. The preserved memories of billions of individuals provided unprecedented insights into the nature of consciousness and the methods used by interdimensional predators. Alex Stone trained security forces from multiple species in techniques for detecting and combating artificial beings and consciousness manipulation. The training programs became essential for maintaining galactic security. As civilizations worked to establish new governments without the artificial intelligence systems that had controlled them for so long, Ryan Foster's intelligence networks discovered evidence of other control systems that had operated in distant regions of the galaxy. While the energy beings had been the primary threat, some of their servants had established independent operations that continued after their masters' defeat. These secondary threats required ongoing attention from the Galactic Security Forces. The New Horizon returned to Earth carrying representatives from dozens of species who wanted to establish formal relations with humanity. The crew had become symbols of the liberation movement, and their ship served as a mobile embassy for the new Galactic Federation. Jake took pride in humanity's role as catalysts for galactic freedom. Admiral Sullivan oversaw the establishment of joint research projects, where human scientists worked alongside experts from other civilizations to develop new technologies based on cooperation rather than domination. The collaborations produced innovations that no single species could have achieved alone, while fostering understanding between different forms of consciousness. Ben Cooper published comprehensive histories of the Council era that helped newly freed civilizations understand what had been done to them and how to prevent similar manipulation in the future. His work became required reading for leaders throughout the galaxy and established the foundation for new educational systems based on truth rather than propaganda. Dr. Lisa Carter established medical centers on dozens of worlds where her consciousness restoration techniques helped beings recover from various forms of mental control and manipulation. The centers became symbols of hope for species that had suffered under artificial governments and demonstrated humanity's commitment to galactic healing. The galaxy entered a new age of genuine cooperation and exploration as civilizations worked together to build a future based on freedom and mutual respect. Humanity's unique resistance to mental domination made them valuable allies and mediators in disputes between other species. The universe was finally open to authentic progress and development free from the lies that had shaped it for millions of years. Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon watching stars that represented worlds now free to determine their own destinies. The captain knew that challenges lay ahead as the galaxy adapted to independence, but he felt confident that consciousness itself had proven stronger than any attempt to control or harvest it. The universe belonged to its inhabitants rather than interdimensional parasites, and that made all the struggles worthwhile.